What's up, champ? I'm Ryan, the author of Play Like a Champion, Sleep Like a Baby, and this is a message to my younger self. So today I want to talk about how to start out as an adult, how to get your life started. There are so many options and ideas and people who are going to be in your ear talking about college, talking about the trades, talking about Amazon, FBA, and probably a million other things. Go to grad school, become a teacher, become a nurse, go to the military. And basically I want to talk about like what is the rush? There's a balance here, because on the one hand, what's the rush? If you're just coming out of high school, for example, there shouldn't be this big rush to check boxes, okay? But also you want to take things seriously, because you have the person who gets their dual enrollment degree at 17 and graduates from college at 20 and starts working, maybe gets married, has children. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think there happens to be a higher incidence of people who do that very early that end up with a bunch of regrets or getting divorced early or having midlife crises, right? But then on the other hand, there are these people that are still 44 and hanging out at the bar and shooting pool and never really had a job, never really had a great relationship, never really had a great career, and they are, the local ketamine dealer or something. And I don't think you want either one of those things, no matter if you're a guy or a girl. So you got to take it seriously, but don't be in a rush, if that makes sense. Give yourself time to explore. My massive recommendation for really anyone in any place, whether, if you're in a Western country and you have some sort of currency arbitrage available to you, then obviously this is much more easy to go to another country where the cost of living is lower. What does that do? The cost of living being lower buys you time, right? Or even if you live in a country that doesn't have a strong currency, chances are that there are areas of that country that are cheaper than others. Or you can elect to, hopefully, I would say most people probably can elect to live with their parents for a while, or with their aunt or their uncle, or with a good friend, roommates, like basically keeping your expenses really low. One of the craziest things that I see people do is they get their first job, or they get right out of college and they immediately buy like a $40,000 car, and now they're weighed down with payments that they have to make, otherwise the car gets repossessed. Or sometimes they end up getting somebody pregnant and now they've got child support. Not to say that you can't get someone pregnant in another country or in a lower cost of living area, but the idea here is to buy yourself some time, because you don't want to be starting your life on a treadmill that's set at 11 already. That leads to a lot of vicious cycles. Like, you're feeling crunched to get a certain type of job, or you don't have the money to take care of your health, or you don't have the money to do things that would actually be interesting, like socializing or joining clubs. The point is, you want to buy yourself some time to explore, because we live in a very crazy world. We live in a disorienting and very complex environment. It's not 1808 anymore. It's not the year 3, where your life was pretty much determined for you the moment that you were conceived, and you're going to do what your parents did. If your father was a blacksmith, you're going to be a blacksmith. If your mother was a homemaker, well, in the year 3, there weren't a lot of other options, right? So all that to say, with the complexity of this landscape, with how crazy the world is, you want to give yourself time to kind of feel it out, and figure out what works for you, what doesn't. There are really great sites. I think one's called World Packers. There's some others like that allow you to look for part-time or volunteer work in other countries. There's WWOOFing, which is WWOOF, I believe, which is opportunities on organic farms across the world. And there's hostels, there's all kinds of ways to keep your expenses low, buy yourself some time, get some experiences under your belt. I mean, especially if you haven't left your hometown or your home country, and especially if you are young, even spending 6 months or a year or a few years in another environment or in a bunch of other environments, it's like a very condensed, accelerated learning curve. You can learn a lot more about yourself and about the world in a short period of time removed from your normal routines than you could in a decade of living in the same place, going through the same motions with the same people. So yes, my massive recommendation would be that you actually take advantage of the modern air travel that's available, of the internet, and accommodations and companies that are looking for people. Like I said, World Packers is one. There's a couple others I'm forgetting the names of right now. Take advantage and then figure out what makes sense for you. Yeah, keeping your expenses as low as possible and trying not to make any catastrophic mistakes like getting someone pregnant that you didn't mean to get pregnant, or developing a drug habit, which can be very expensive and ruin your life, obviously, or getting like terribly injured. So, which honestly, most injuries happen when you're drunk. Like 70% of drownings and 80% of emergency room visits are alcohol related. Don't quote me, but the numbers aren't far off from that. So, point is, take some time to take care of yourself, take some time to explore and figure out what makes sense for you, and then build from there. I'll talk about more in another video, but that is the main thing that I wanted to talk about today, which is just how to get your life off the ground as you're just becoming an adult. That's about it for today, champ. Yeah, I hope that you play like a champion so that you can sleep like a baby, and I'll see you in the next one.